Welcome to Original Minds, episode 1. This is, we have a very special guest today. This is somebody that kind of inspired me to do this series of, sitting down with multifaceted, visionary talents. This person is not just a creative, not just a trailblazer, a master seamstress. This person is not just in New York, but they are New York. And, I couldn't be more honored. So today we have Chris Port.
Hi guys, I'm Chris. I'm from New York.
Don't worry, Chris. We'll let me take care of that.
Yeah,
all right. So Chris Port. I don't know if you remember you don't remember the first time I met you, but the second time I met you was through Ashley. So shout out to Ashley.
Yes.
She had the housewarming. But when I met you there, I was like, yo, I remember Chris from like the Balenciaga store.
Yes.
It was like 2014, 15, like when the whole underground, like ASAP movement was going on, the Soho movement. Me and my cousin, all the way from like Central South Jersey, like we were like in on that scene. We used to like take the train up, window shop. And we used to go into them stores and we ain't had no money, you know what I mean? But
look at you now.
I remember you specifically though, because I remember going into the Balenciaga store and you were literally so like warm and like embracing, and you treated everybody the same way you do now. Like when I see you, how you deal with people. And years later, I met you at Ashley's and I was like, yo, I remember her from Balenciaga. And I think that just speaks to your character and like just your energy and your aura. So tell us about kind of where it started. It was at Coney Island.
Yeah, so I'm from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. I hated my neighborhood, so I decided to hang out in Coney Island, and I literally lived there every day. My mom, she's single mother, 3 children, worked 4 jobs. She was never home, so I basically lived in Coney Island with my friends nonstop while she thought I was at the babysitter's or out here or whatever. And from just being on the street, I became obsessed. With people watching. Yeah. That's where it started. And I was just in awe of the way people put things together, the way they walked, the way they spoke, just everything. And then we started hopping the train. And once you hop the train
it's
once,
over. Hop off the porch.
You're hopping off the porch. And we were like, Manhattan. And we went to Manhattan, and from there it was like my crack, because I don't drink and I don't smoke. It was my drug. Wow. I had to be in Manhattan every day, and I knew the pivot moment in my life was walking down the street, and it's like, oh my God, I thought it was so cool, and I was so not. Like I had a Vocal jersey on. It was so bad, and it was bad. It was bad, and I saw Marc Jacobs for the first time in my life. And it was like this slow motion movement. And he was wearing a kilt with like military boots. And he had this tight tee tucked into the skirt. And I was like.
And what year is this?
Oh my God, I don't even remember. This was such a long time ago. Like, I don't even remember. I just know like that was it in my life. I was like, look at this fucking guy. He has a dress on. Like, I didn't even know it was a kilt. Yeah. I was like, look at this guy. That's Marc Jacobs. Like, that's the guy from the magazine, because my mom loved Marc Jacobs. It's like, that's the Jewish guy. That's the Jewish designer. And I was just like flipping out. And my friends were like, Chris, what? Who cares? And I'm like, no, I want to do design. Like, I want to be as cool as him. Like, I want to look like him. And I remember like trying to get close to him and just like, I don't know what I was going to say. And I went and like, I'm walking towards him. He just smiles at me and walks, like keeps walking. But he gave me a smile. And I was like, that's it. I was like, he co-signed me. I'm like,
I'm in there.
Bro, that was it. Like, he's gonna be my best friend. Like, he's gonna be like, me and him, we're gonna be like this. And they're like, you're fucking delusional. I was like, maybe. But I was like, this is what I was like. And from that day on, I was just like, I Googled him, was like, what school he went to? I'm gonna go to that school. So I ended up at Parsons, I ended up doing all this stuff. And, fast forward from me being a kid to jumping the train, I ended up at his wedding. I ended up at the table. I was invited to his wedding. He invited me to his wedding. I'll show you the invite. I still have it. It's like Chris Port and guest, and it had the most beautiful calligraphy, write my name, and I was like, oh, this is just beautiful.
So how did the invite, like, Did he? How did he get in contact with you after you just getting a smile from him? How did you develop that
From
relationship?
on and on, I kept bumping into him, and then he loved Balenciaga, and I was like, okay, clearly I beat celebrities every day at Balenciaga. This is my idol. Like, how do I maneuver? And my manager threw me into the flame, fucked me up completely. She's like, Chris, tell him about the new jacket and tell him how it's made and tell him. So I was like, I go up to him, I'm nervous. I'm like, so this is a new jacket and it's actually mohair. He's like, do me a favor. Don't ever tell me how a jacket is made. He's like, I was like, okay, there goes my shot for my lifetime. I was like sweating on myself. And then I was like, whatever. Okay, that's over with. That'll never happen. And then next he comes into the store, maybe a week ago, and he's like, you, get me this. And I was like, oh, okay, he kind of likes me. And I think from then on, because you have to think about it, Marc Jacobs has one of the most exclusive closets that any designer can own because he's been in this forever. He's 60 years old. This man has been doing it since he was like 16. So his closet is just crazy. So I was like, what's gonna make me stand out from every other associate that he's ever, dealt with in his life? Like, how are we gonna take this from A to Z? And honestly, I was just like, he made it so easy for me and him to be friends. Like, he made it so easy. He was so polite, such a great personality, like the craziest jokes that I won't repeat. But like, he just made it so easy. And I was like, thinking to myself, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm actually his friend. Yeah. And I was like, Marc, are we friends? He's like, oh, Chris, we're friends. He's like, okay, nothing to ever think over. Yeah. And his assistant came in one day, said, we're throwing Marc a surprise party at the Mercer. His fiance wants you there. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay. I mean, Marc Jacobs' surprise birthday party. Like, I was like, this, how? Like, why? Yeah. Little Kim's there, Naomi Campbell's there, everyone who's anybody there, Blondie's there. And it was an awe. And I brought my best friend Vashtie. She's a DJ in New York. I brought her as my guest because I was just so nervous. And I was like, this is amazing.
So you casually just Vashtie. We know.
Oh, I love Vashtie. Yeah, she's huge.
Don't act like we don't.
No. Vashti's huge. Yeah. Vashti's huge. But I brought her because I knew like she's a huge Marc Jacobs fan. And it was phenomenal. And then from then on, me and Marc have just been like.
Yeah, so you developed this relationship with Marc Jacobs, right? From just him smiling at you to being invited personally to his events. You come through with Vashtie. We all know like that's another iconic, person and part of the culture.
Yes.
What do you say to people who kind of look at these designers and feel like they don't care or they don't contribute or they don't consider us, as people of color or anybody that may seem like, I guess, little?
Definitely anyone that I communicate with, friends with, hang out with, they are on the forefront of caring about Black people, people of color, minority, Indian descent. Marc Jacobs was so active during all of the police rioting and everything that was happening with Soho during George Floyd. And he was one of the first people to make a statement about, I don't care if you bust the windows open in Soho of my property. Property can be replaced, a life can't. And for him to come out and say that when everyone is like, oh my God, my store, my car, I can't believe you're ruining the community.
Even Black people saying that, right?
Black people were saying, oh yeah, I can't believe you bust up my BMW. Yeah. We're losing Black people at such a high risk and a high rate for no reason. A hoodie, a Skittles, exercising, jogging. And you have somebody at this caliber saying, yeah, you guys ruined my fucking store. I have to go get it fixed, but we have bigger things to worry about. I can replace that window you threw a brick through. I can replace those clothes you stole. I can do that. That's fine. What's not fine is this. So it was just like, I already loved you, Marc, but now it's like, Jesus Christ, you get it. You understand what's going on. And he's just a person who just gets it and he cares. And I made a comment one time. I was joking with my friend, and he's Serbian, but of course he comes off just, Anglo-Saxon. So I made a comment, and I was like, I was walking into a restaurant, and I was like, it's because I'm Black, right? And Marc looked at me with this look and it felt like your father was looking at you and like was scolding you. He was like, Chris, don't ever say that. You're black and you're beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, just don't joke like that because it would never be that. Serious. He takes it beyond serious, where I think black people, we've created a coping mechanism to saying these negative things about ourselves because it's our life. It's what we do every day, you know? So he's definitely aware. And a lot of them are, and I always think of it like how when I worked for Balenciaga, how emotional I was and how emotionally unattached they were. So when you think of a creative director, he might want to say and do certain things, but yet they're owned by LVMH, they're owned by Kering brand. So you're not really able to vocalize what you want, even though people are like, you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah. But they don't have necessarily control over everything.
You don't. And it's easy to say when you're not in that position. It's so easy to say because we've known when we've had a job, how you want to tell someone, I know you fucking wore those shoes. Don't bring them shits back. But I can't say that because I'm working for a Kering brand. I have to act and move in a certain aspect. So I think people should really take that into mind, like
that to separate the person in the business from what's his actions. You know, is he saying, you know, XYZ?
Yeah, is he saying these negative things, or is he quietly saying nothing, but yet you can do your research and see he's donating money to this, that, and the third. So that's how I feel about it.
So from, you know, being in high school or, you know, going on the trains, developing some of these relationships, how did you end up, you know, like tell us more about the journey in your like career? Because I know you were at Balenciaga, you know, and then from there, you know, I know you had actual training in Seamstress.
Yes, at Parsons University.
Then to starting your own brand, then to like doing, I know you have like private, high, you know, profile clients.
Definitely.
So tell us about your career path, because I think, you know, for people watching, there's no real like roadmap to what you've done.
There's no roadmap. Everyone's going to make it a different way and we're all going to be at the top together. The most important thing I can tell anyone, communication and relationships. That's the key to success is who are you with? Where are you going? And what are you doing with your time? You can sit in the street in Soho, New York City, 6 days a week, and I guarantee you'll have a great like backbone in communication with people because they'll see you, they'll want to get to know you. And I feel like for me, no matter where I am, I'm always connecting with people. So for instance, I know that when I first met, a lot of people don't know this, of my relationship with Rav Simmons. Me and him became so close in a small period of time to where I knew me and his fiance, Jean-Georges, but they're no longer together. But we became so close because of our conversations, our understanding of each other. I'm obsessed with Rav Simmons. He's
like, that's like one of the biggest. Yeah.
And it became, our conversations no longer were about fashion. They were about his dog. They were about him in Belgium. And we became close due to our conversations of other things than fashion because that's all he gets to talk about the rest of his life. So I feel like with me, people feel comfortable, and I think it has to do also with my size. I'm very small. You know what I mean? You know, no, I think it really does because people look at me and they're like, oh, that's just a cute, tiny person. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. You know, but I have a very big personality. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of background behind me. So they're surprised when they see this tiny little person and it's like a ball of energy. Yeah. I have a ball of energy naturally because I'm passionate about fashion. But I think it's all about being true to yourself. And it sucks to say, I hate sounding cliche, being true to yourself and really finding what makes you happy because they're going to see that shit through you. Like, you start sitting at these tables.
They see who's comfortable, who's not.
They're going to see right fucking through you. Yeah. So, like, when I was at Marc Jacobs' wedding, I was like Beth Midler and then like this really amazing stylist from like Taiwan or something. And the conversation flew. It was a flow because I was just true to myself. I wasn't trying to perpetrate a fraud. I was just being myself, you know? And it was an amazing, amazing event.
Yeah, so that's definitely some of like the soft skills, right? So soft skills are, you know, interpersonal things we can't touch and feel. But more than the skills. I was gonna say, I'm gonna ask you, that's the best skill. Soft skills, I tell everybody, like there's probably, you know, 90% of success is soft skills.
Yes.
How good you are with people.
100%.
Can you read the room, emotional intelligence?
100%.
But tell us more about like the hard skills, right? Because you have actual skills and training.
Parsons.
So was it Parsons you learned it, or was it, and how did you develop it?
My grandmother, she really helped me. She was a seamstress from Cuba. She had no money. She had to make her own clothes. When she would babysit me, she was so strict. Oh my fucking God. She was like, I'm not buying you anything. You don't need that. You can make it. I was like, Grandma, I can't make Jordans. Like, I need the money. Okay, I'm out here in these streets. I need the money. I want to look good. She was just telling me to sew all the time. And I was like, you know what? I respect her. Let me just sew a vest or something, and then she'll give me money. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, I'm gonna make everything now. Yeah. And I wanted to follow Parsons because that's where Marc Jacobs went. And it was so aggressive. I was not okay there. I was not happy there. Everybody was competing with each other. And these people were maybe 20 times better than me. They just had no people skills. Yeah. They had none. They couldn't be in a room with a top designer and get a job because they couldn't even communicate, but they can show you the work. Yeah. But they didn't have the people skills. And I think that's what separated me from a lot of them. Like, I still keep in contact with a lot of them, and none of them are in fashion. Yeah. One is a culinary chef. One is working for her father in China. Like, it's just, and these.
It's funny you say that because, like, you know, even me as a dentist, right? Like, when I was in school, you know, you had people like if they got a 98 instead of 100, like, it's the end of the world. Yeah. Like, people were super competitive. Super. And the same thing, like you said, you know, once they get out here and actually have to deal with patients and people,
they can't do it.
They can't produce. You know what I mean? So now you go to Balenciaga, you know, you have all these relationships. I know you spent time like out of the country learning things.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to like touch on that for us, like the overseas and how that was different than here?
Definitely. Overseas, there's no Black people sewing. Black people are either celebrities or they're stylists or models. That's our category. That's it. Mm-hmm. So I think a huge difference for me was being backstage and seeing no one that looked like me, unless they were on the runway. So when I would visit, there was a room where all the seamstresses would stay during fashion shows, and I would go back there, and I'd be so excited to like see them. I'd take photos with them, and they were so happy to see me. Like, they were like, "You want to see us?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to see you." Like, what are you guys doing? What are you working on? And it was so exciting. And there was one time where I had to actually show up for work and do a job, and I wasn't allowed in to do my job. Only because, again, Black people don't sew, Black people rap, Black people style, Black people. So for that man at that door, I think it was a culture shock to be like, well, yeah, no, you're at the wrong place. And I was like, what? And there was also a language barrier. But either way, credentials are credentials. I had them. I wasn't, I'm definitely not acting bigger than what I am. I was just trying to get to where I needed to get, and it was not happening. It was not. I had to call in like backup to
say, know, it's so fortunate, right? But like you said, it's like you're doing something like, and that's why I said in the beginning, you're a trailblazer. So these are things that like come with it, right? Because you're literally doing something that isn't being done. So it's messed up. And after you, the next time that security guard, somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I'm here to work," he can say, "All right, well, I saw someone before that looked like this doing it. So maybe this, like you're opening the door." Yeah. And it's not even people's fault. Like, it's like if you saw like a white dude coming in the hood trying to like, it's like, it's just as natural people, we stereotype,
100%.
You know what I mean? So, 100%. But it's important that you're doing what you're doing and, you're moving forward. So I mean, that's good that you told us that experience. So you come back, right? How did the experience there kind of lead you into doing your own thing, or were you going to do your own thing anyway?
I always wanted to do my own thing because I just have so many ideas and I'm just like, I want to execute them. So really for me, it was like, I remember Kim Jones inviting me to Paris, and he was so loving, and he was showing me things like how the show was ran. Like you see this escalator is going to go all the way down, but it was like a flat escalator. So the models would stand and then they would go.
Like in the airport, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And it was like, for me, I never even thought to think about the dynamics of running a show. For me, it's like clothes, patterns, cut, sew. And he was like, he guided me with so much love and understanding. And it was funny because I was like a tail. So I was like, he would move up.
Yeah.
He would move up. But when you back up, I back up faster. So he doesn't run. And he always made sure to introduce me. So every time a conductor came, a producer came, an executive came, he would go, this is Chris Port. This is Chris Port. And I felt like I was Naomi Campbell, to be honest. Like I felt like I was, like I made it.
You're in, like you're in.
I
You're
made it,
in.
and I was in, and I was just like, just from someone caring to introduce me. Like half of those people didn't even speak English, so who knows what they heard him say or whatever. But it was just so loving, and I don't think I've ever felt that kind of love from a white male. Like I wasn't expecting it from him. I have so many Black friends in the industry. I've never encountered love the way he loves me, ever. I mean, never in my life.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's good for like people watching, because like I said, even me, before I met you, like I wouldn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like until I really saw, oh, Chris is with this person or that person. And then like you literally are the same with everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I've seen it, like, whether you're at in Coney Island giving out turkeys, or you're like at a runway show in Egypt, you know what I mean? It's like you're the same person. And what kind of is it in you that makes you that way? And also another thing you said to me one time was like, when you were giving out turkeys, you were like, I know you guys see me smile a lot, but shit ain't like sweet. Like people are out here struggling. Like I gotta go do my thing. And you had one of your like clients like even invest in it. So you're kind of like bridging this like gap. So just talk.
I have an amazing client, and he'll love me to say his name because he's just whatever. John Stewart. He is phenomenal. He's a billionaire. He is an amazing person. What a fucking good heart. And he's always showing me, because he didn't really come from money. He was not a millionaire. He wasn't born a millionaire or nothing like that. He worked on an assembly line. So he's always showing me things, and he's always like trying to invest in what I'm trying to do, wants to know what I'm doing, and he's always trying to just be better than what he is. And I think he drives me in that way. And he was just like, whatever you're doing. He was like, what are we doing? Who needs help? That's his thing. Who needs help? And I always want to be, I'm not a millionaire. I'm far from, but I can help. I can help a little. So I just try to.
But you make it a point to always reach back and try to,
Because everyone counts. For me, everyone counts because I'm one person. So how are you gonna say one person doesn't count when I'm just one? So for me, I don't care if I help 2 or 1, I'm fine.
All right, so let's talk about what you have on, right? Because the CPNY is, it's a staple. Like people know, like you see it on a lot of celebrities. We'll talk about that too, but first of all, just talk about what you have on.
So I made this. I bought the fabric from a mom and pop fabric store in Florida, Orlando. And I saw it and I was like, this is the most beautiful fabric I've ever seen. The thing is, when I see fabric, I already know what I'm gonna make. And everyone's looking like, Chris, that tie-dye thing, that thing is ugly. It was like $2 a yard, which is really cheap, which is great. Most of my fabrics are like $80 a yard. So I was like, I'll take the whole thing. And literally, they were so happy I was buying it. It was on the clearance rack. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And she's like, what are you gonna make out of it? And I was like, I'm gonna make a jacket, and it's gonna reverse zip, and it's gonna have pleats. And I like sent her a photo of it after. She couldn't believe it was the same fabric.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I wanted to kind of make like a contour, but not contour, because I don't want to contour my shape. But it still gives you a shape that is being contoured. So I love that. And in the back is one of my favorite sayings ever.
On the back of her jacket, it says, if you adore her,
Dior.
her.
Yep.
And we will get a shot of that. Don't you worry.
Oh, my bad.
But talk about that on the back, because you mentioned that was like, we know Pop Smoke and.
Oh man. So I was blessed enough to meet the late great Pop Smoke Brooklyn.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to him. What an angel. What a hungry guy. And of course we all know, if he was alive, he would be.
Oh yeah, it would be.
It would be his summer consecutively. And I met him, and I was just like, this guy's fucking voice is like aggressive, but it's like sweet, but it's like, and I was like, I love it. And then he says something, and I'm like, oh my God. He's like, if you adore her, Dior her. And I was like, that's it. I was like, that's the saying. That's the saying of the summer, man, isn't it? And everyone's like cheering him on. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. I was like, well, I want you to come to a Dior show with me. I was like, you have to come. You have, I mean, your songs, like, everything. And unfortunately, he was killed, so he never made it to the show. But, I dream of that day. I dream of that day, just having him there and just him seeing, his song playing in the background. I would have loved it. I would have loved it. So I always wear this, his saying on the back of anything that I wear to a Dior show. I always wear it because he really just.
He was different.
He was phenomenal.
He was different. He definitely had like that.
Guy.
He had his head on straight. You just hear him talk. He had like wisdom at a young age.
Yes, he was ready.
And
he was ready to take over. So.
Yeah. All right, we talked about pretty much, the past, how you got here. So what are you looking forward to, and what's kind of on the horizons for Chris Port?
One day, don't kill me, Kim, okay? Because if you kill me, I'll haunt you. One day, I hope to have a collaboration with Kim Jones. I mean, that is my lifelong goal. It is, I think, who I am as a person, because for me, he always collaborates with his friends. And I know that I have to do the best that I can do so that way it can become a real conversation one day. But as of right now, I just enjoy making custom pieces and honestly, the freedom of it all. I'm not in a rat race. I can go wherever I want. I don't have to continuously drop, 6 collections a year. I can move at my own pace. And I think that alone is beauty in itself. Just to be honestly, to say, okay, well, today I'm going to go to Puerto Rico and I'm going to create the collection there. I have that freedom. So I take it, I'm trying to soak it in while it's here. And then when it gets crazy, it gets crazy, so I'm thankful for what I have now.
Yeah. So just speaking on that, what would your advice be to, I guess people trying to make it to where you're at? Because a lot of people, and, we're all victim to like the rat race of like, oh man, we got to make this happen. Like we have to drop this, we got to drop that. We got to get this done, get that done. So what is your outlook on that? And what is
quality? Drop quality and drop it at your own pace. Even if it's once a month, drop quality, because that is what it's going to stay in people's head. You can create something once a week and they're like, oh, that's good. If you drop something that really takes someone's breath away, they're going to remember that like forever. And also relationships. I cannot stress enough. Relationships. When you have the right person in your corner, people are going to think your life is so easy. Like, oh, but you get it. No, it's because I've worked for that relationship, and that person is running in front of me, opening that door, turning on the light in that next room. So it's not about moving fast or over dropping. It's about who are you building with? Nothing can be done alone,
Yeah, especially, our relationship.
Yeah.
Part of what I'm doing here is people that I'm obviously close with, celebrating you, giving you your roses. And yeah, you kind of were an inspiration for this. Just because of the conversation we had recently, at the Ludlow House. And I think you're somebody that's like, you're gonna be big.
You're gonna put the stress on me.
And I'm a little, I got the first interview. So.
The first, probably the never.
This is gonna be the one you come back to. And I had to give this to you guys because Chris is special.
Thank you.
Anything
and
else?
So are you.
Anything you want to say?
I want to say some things about you. That I don't do interviews. I don't really hang out. I don't really associate with. I know a lot of people but they're my associates and I respect them and I treat them fair. But I don't hang out with people. So for me to want to be around you, it says a lot about who you are.
Yeah.
You have an energy that, you know, I don't speak to you every day. I don't need to speak to you every day, but I feel something when I'm next to you. And that's what makes me feel fine and say, you know what, let me come out of my comfort zone because this is what he wants. And it's important for us to please people because we want to be pleased. Yeah. So I'm doing this because of the person you are. I'm not doing it because it's a fashion podcast.
Yeah, I know. And it really means a lot. And I know that about you.
Yeah.
Because, like, as cool as we are, you quickly be like, nah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that it's done right. You see, we got the professional setup. Like, I'm never going to bring you onto something that's not up to par. But, yeah, appreciate you so much.
I appreciate
and,
you.
I look forward to kind of, like, what's coming. I think you're...
Definitely.
Do
we got to
big
get
things.
some of my friends on the show. We got to get you Vashtie.
Yeah.
She's the
we got
people's
to.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get it done.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for joining us on Original Minds, the very first and most important. Obviously, we got Ashley coming up too, so that's pretty big.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
She should have been older. She's prettier than you.
Yeah, but thank you, Chris.
Oh, Jesus, this is stressful.